Hey, what's up, Dean? Saber Performance. We are at the shop. It's Wednesday, hurricane day, about 11:49. And just to show you, here's a hurricane. And a little bit of wind. It's not much. It's not here, but not even raining out here right now. But we are down here trying to get as much done as we can today on Jeff's truck. Probably won't be down here tomorrow or Friday, depending on how the weather goes. But I am still here. I am still trying to get as much done as I can. So I started out this morning looking at, and I made a plate, basically, 1/4 inch plate. 1/4 inch plate, and I drilled a hole in it and held it in that motor mount there, which you could already see it's different than what that is. Go in here. So I was trying to hold it in between the motor mount to hold that steering heim joint, but it just wasn't having it. So I ended up taking a piece of round tube, welding the nut to the tube so I have something to thread into, which it needs a little bit of adjustment so the ball isn't so rocked out of it. Basically, I need to take the tube, it's just barely tacked to the frame. You can see right there, it's just barely tacked. So I need to take the tube and just turn it back some more so the joint is aiming a little straighter at the rod. But I got that in, then I got that joint in, and I just kept putting like one screw at a time just to kind of hold them. I think I have one in that other one. Yeah, there's one in there. And then I already had the column mounted. Now the wind's picking up a little bit. I already had the column bracket done, half done anyways, at least. So I made another piece to support the column, and the column's like super stiff now. Then I just started working on getting the bar into the truck and getting to this joint here, which now I have to tighten the collar up that holds the bushing in the column, but I got it all hooked up. The weird thing about this joint is it's round and there's no screws, like lock screws like these, to put in it. So I think they intend for you to weld that joint, but if I weld that joint, the column doesn't come apart. So I think what I'm going to do is drill through this side of the inner tube, just go through one side, thread this outer knuckle, just like all these other ones are, and then put a jam screw all the way in, and it'll pinch the tube against, not only will it go through the tube, but it'll pinch the tube against the other side of this knuckle. I don't want to go all the way through in case the hole starts to kind of get messed up, but just with this pressed on, the steering wheel, I put it straight because I already know the rack isn't right. You can see how that boot is squished shut almost, and then this boot is kind of spread open. That tie rod's way inside the rim. This tie rod is still hooked to the spindle. This tire is fairly straight. So what I look at fairly straight, I kind of look at the fender line. I know they're not straight, but I look at the fender line with the tread. So you can see it's pretty close to straight, and if you look at the outside of it, the tire looks pretty straight to the truck right now. Normally what I'll do is take a string, kind of tie it somewhere in the back under on the frame, and I'll bring the string out across that tire and then up to the front, and usually like tie it to a jack stand or something and just slide it in till it touches the front of that tire. Then that gives me an idea on the straightness of the rear tire to the front tire. Not that that's any way to align it, but so this tire you can see is kind of straight too. So what I'm going to do is disconnect this side of the rack. I'm going to take the tie rods off, center of the rack. So I'm basically going to turn the wheel full lock one way and then full lock the other way, and I'm going to count the turns that it takes to go from one side to the other side, and then just go half those turns back. I'll center the steering wheel. No, I don't need to center the steering wheel yet. Excuse me, I'm yawning over here. But go one side the way, whatever, count the turns, turn it back to the middle, half those amount of turns, and then just kind of see where the ends are. So I switched this one. I didn't switch it. It's not bolted up, but I laid it up on top, and I don't think that's going to be right. Oh, I don't think it's going to be right because it's pointing at a severe angle up. And if we lower the truck a little bit more, which I have a feeling we're probably going to go a little bit lower, it would add to that angle. So I think it would give us a lot of bump steer. Whereas this side, the rack is pointing down right now, and that bolt's not even tight. I could actually pull up on the bolt. Well, I mean, I could, but there's spacers in there and a big space here. So if I was to tighten that up, it would almost put it straight, which I'm not an alignment guy. I don't design steering shit, but I think that would be the best option. So I'm going to get the threads cut on the rack so that I can put the tie rods on, kind of hook them up. I don't have any of the ball joints tight yet, just in case something needed to change. So there's no cotter pins, no nothing in them yet. Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I've got done so far. So pretty much the steering is in place. It's not done, it's in place, but all I have to do is finish it. Everything's there that I need to do. I gotta divot in each one of these and kind of take them and tighten them in enough to make a mark on the bar. And I'll pull it all back apart. I'll take like a, I don't know, a 1/4 inch or a 5/16 drill bit, and I'll dent each one of those screws in the 3/4 Alright, sorry for the pause, but I'm just wondering why it's flat is facing me and the round is facing me on that one. Oh, it's because the way the U-joints are. Never mind. But yeah, I dent each one. That way the set screw kind of locks into that divot. So I have to do that. Get that together. I got to get it painted. And then get it back together. And none of the angles are like super severe, which is cool. And so far, just turning the wheel and having this one kind of turn back and forth a little bit, it feels really, really smooth. But I'll know once I get everything locked in place, get that Heim welded out. I mean, it doesn't have to be welded out, but once I get all of that done, then I will know if his steering is smooth. My steering's like kind of notchy on mine. I just made my column, and it's by far it's not made right at all. But it's pretty notchy on mine, so I'm gonna get to work on that, and then most likely gonna head out of here. I think they put like a 2 o'clock curfew on us, but we'll see what happens. So let me knock out these bolts and stuff, get the column pulled all back apart, and I'll be right back. So real quick, I wanted to show that's, man, can't see it. That's about all you do, that little divot right there. And then one on this end, and this will go in here. You got to keep them in order because sometimes those holes aren't like perfectly drilled or whatever. So then you slide this in. Make sure it's not sticking through because it'll hit the knuckle sometimes, like if you have an angle. This one doesn't have an angle, but I did this one. I know I did the other one. There it is. So that one has the divot on the end there, and then it has the divot up there. So I'm gonna put it back together. Okay, so I got it all back together, painted with some handprints on it, special, all the way up. I put the blinker switch on before. So remember, Jeff, if you want to go right, up, down, left, down, up, down, up. Nice consistent method to it. But I'm gonna have to move. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. But the brake pedal looks like it's close, but it might not be that close. I cannot tell. It's pretty close. I gotta see what it does when I push down on it. I believe it might bump where that curve goes in, so I might have to pull the pedal, bend the pedal over a little bit. But the rack has like 3 3/4 of a turn from full lock to full lock. So instead of doing that, I measured from the outside of the mount to the end of the threads, and all the way in it's like 11, all the way out it's 16 1/4. So half of 5 1/4 is whatever, 2 5/8. Came out to 13 5/8 is where the end of that rod should be. And the rack should be centered. So this is gonna be hard to do. It's gonna be very hard to do. Yeah, near impossible to do. But if I measure, yep, impossible to measure with one hand. Come on. Come on. It's getting stuck on the boot. There it is. Come on. Hold on. Alright. If you look at that number, that is like 13 1/2 on the money right there. And that steering wheel is almost perfectly straight. Almost perfectly straight. So that worked out. I was worried that the hole on the top knuckle, the top of the knuckle on the actual column, I kind of worried that it was maybe a little bit off, but nailed it. So now I'm going to take the tie rod ends, hold them on there, cut the threads, and put the tie rod ends back together. This tire's still straight. This one, I know I bumped it a couple of times, but it's still pretty straight, it looks like. So I may, it's like 1 o'clock right now, so I may do the string on it. I also have a nice tall piece of square tube, but they're kind of a pain in the butt to set up. I could do a jack stand and a jack stand. That's what I'll do. I'll be right back. Alright, so I cut probably, oh, that was my knee, like 1 inch off this side and like 1 inch, 1.25 inches off the other side. And I'd say the tires are a little towed in, which is good because we have a ton of adjustment out. The knuckle is basically threaded almost all the way in. The heim joint is threaded pretty much all the way in. This side, you can see it's buried on the threads all the way down. So I had to cut a little bit off the heim joint, like 1/2 inch. Nah, maybe not 1/2 inch, about 1/2 inch, but whatever. But I'm pretty sure the tires are a little bit towed in, but that's good enough for now. Everything's tightened up, so now we can use it as an adjustment. So as far as the steering, other than patching the firewall and putting some kind of boot over that, which I forgot to put the boot over it, but I could do it from inside. I could take that one knuckle off. Drop the column, slide the knuckle out, and put the boot back on it. But I got to build the plate to cover the firewall. I mean, the steering's pretty much done, and it feels pretty good. It's not notchy or nothing, so I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I mean, that's that. It's 126, almost 130 right now. Winds are starting to pick up a little bit. Not bad. It's barely even raining here right now. So, yeah, people are out here walking by. There hasn't been anybody here all day but me, like an idiot. But anyways, I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for the next video. It might not be out for a few days, but like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified of new videos, and leave me a comment. Have a good day.